I am Lydia Dollinger, and I am speaking for the negative. I am pleased to have the opportunity to debate the topic of adult sentences for juvenile offenders. I believe that everything happens for a reason. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't change anything. You know, I would go to Camp Sweeney, do the time, because it's worth it. This is a quote by Ernesto Diaz, stated in an NPR interview in 2011. Diaz goes on to express his gratitude about being reprimanded for his crimes. He says it taught him a lesson and made him a better person. He says he gained things from the system and how it treated him. Furthermore, recent figures show a precipitous drop over the last 5 years. This was stated in a Time magazine article written in 2001. These quotes give you an accurate impression of our current treatment of juvenile offenders. The system is working. It is not fun, it is not easy, but it is fair and it works. Today, I stand in firm negation of the resolution, violent juvenile offenders ought to be treated as adults in the criminal justice system.
In an NPR story done by Richard Knox entitled The Teen Brain, It's Just Not Grown Up Yet, written in 2010, Richard Knox goes on to tell of how the frontal lobe of the part of the brain attributed to decision making, is not fully connected near the adolescent phase. And up until the age 25, the brain as a whole is not fully developed, meaning that decision making up until the age of 25 is hampered by the connectivity of it not coming together.
According to an Ed Informatics article, which is a science and health website, an article by Ron Dahl, who is a pediatrician and child psychiatric researcher for the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, claims that in calm situations, teenagers have the same rationalization as adults, but facing intense situations, they can feel a sense of hot cognition in their decision making, which is caused by the frontal lobe not being fully developed, which, because the frontal lobe puts a brake in the desire for thrills and taking risks, adolescents are less likely to stop with taking those thrills and risks and go through with them.
According to LegalDictionary.com, the actual dictionary that they use in our legal justice system, a juvenile delinquent is a person under the age, usually below 18, who is found to have committed a crime in states which have declared by law that a minor lacks responsibility and thus is not sentenced as an adult. Now this kind of is kind of counteracted by this topic in CNN about a child who was impulsed by his father to shoot a rifle out of a moving vehicle, and he just happened to hit a 7-year-old out of it, and he was charged as an adult, as a 9-year-old, and he just was immediately tagged with that title, even though he was impulsed by his father. And he was charged as an adult, although he was under the definition of juvenile delinquent.
The current system we have right now has proven to work in a variety of cases. Juveniles are not adults, and we cannot just put them into a broad category of crimes and convict them as adults. Each case and the individual bouts need to be carefully examined before deciding how the criminals should be convicted. There are many things that need to be considered in order to examine the capacity of the criminal. According to Time magazine, published May 17, 2001, many juveniles are actually not mentally developed enough to understand the consequences of their actions, and also many juveniles are able to be rehabilitated and function as good adults in society rather than spending their lives in prison because of the foolish crimes they committed when they were a child. So because of this, we believe that the status quo is working perfectly and looking at each case individually to decide what punishment is necessary.
Now, according to a New York Times article, each case is taken on a judge's decision and is taken by each case separately, and this is because all people are created differently and they should not be ruled as one standard.
I myself interviewed yesterday a CID criminal investigative officer of the city of Sartell that has 26 years of experience, badge number 70. And according to her and her own testimony, everything from traffic stops to double homicide, every person has had a different experience, a different growing up, and these people that are involved with these all have different experiences that made them do what they did. So because of this, it is not okay to make a uniform decision based on age. And while you sit here and argue for uniform decisions, you are simultaneously mandating an ununiform consequence for people that have had different experiences throughout life.
The Eighth Amendment states that criminal and cruel and unusual punishment shall not be inflicted on anyone in the criminal justice system. And there have been many Supreme Court cases that have been dealing with this issue lately.
In 2005, Roper versus Simmons, the death penalty was ruled unconstitutional for those who committed a crime as a minor.
And in 2010, in the case of Graham versus Florida, life without parole for juveniles who don't kill is also ruled unconstitutional. And then in 2012, in the cases of Miller versus Alabama and Jackson versus Hobbs, the court is currently considering if life without parole for juveniles who do kill is unconstitutional. All of these cases set a precedence in the United States that juvenile offenders should not be tried as adults. Already the court is leaning towards that decision.
The death penalty is the death penalty. You're ending a life, and for juveniles to be cut short of that, that is not right.
For the reasons of brain development, the judge's decision, and Supreme Court cases, our arguments support the best interests for our nation. As you all know, every case is different, and for all of these reasons we have stated shows that the negative team should win. And thank you. We now stand for questions.
Okay. Would you guys like to do your cross or would you like prep time?
Your affirmative, enjoy.